welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. And today, we're looking at verses 16 through 22 in Psalm 136. Psalm 136 is that great psalm of God's goodness. The Lord is good, and His goodness is described for us in creation. It's described for us in the Exodus experience, and now, today, we're going to look at His goodness described for us in the conquest. Now, I'm not going to read these verses because there's 7 of them, and it would take me most of the program just to read this passage. Yeah, and I know I picked a pretty big bite here, but this is all one piece. This is all conquest. The thing to keep in mind is that each line, the beginning of each line, tells us a story. For example, in 16, to him which led his people through the wilderness. So we know where we are. We've left Egypt. Pharaoh and his armies destroyed in the Red Sea. Now we're in the wilderness. And then we come to 17, to him which smote great kings. And then we have this list of famous kings, Sihon and Og. We saw them in 135. Sihon and Og were the 2 kings on the east side of the Jordan. So when Israel arrived and they camped, they looked at that east side of Jordan and they took those kingdoms. They destroyed Og and they destroyed Sihon, both of which, as it says here, were famous kings in verse 18 and great kings in verse 17. Og, I think it was Og, was considered one of the giants, and when they found his iron bed, it was so long, they knew what they had there. They had this giant who was king of the kingdom of Bashan. And so, have Sihon and Og, that was something that was just never going to be done. To defeat them was never going to be done by anybody. And as I mentioned last week, Rahab the harlot mentions this. She said, "We know what you did to those kings, and the fear of you has fell upon us." Then you go down to verse 21, and gave their land for an heritage. Well, this is again the goodness of God to the people of Israel. The heritage that the Lord promised to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob is now coming to pass. These people are inheriting the land. This is what He said would happen. Even an heritage unto Israel, His servant. Again, we're going back to Israel, or Jacob, who's the son of Isaac, who's the son of Abraham. Those patriarchs, they're the ones that the promise was given to. This is going to be your home forever. I'm giving this land to you. So when Israel comes in as a great nation, they destroy Sihon, they destroy Og, they march into the land, and they take it over, and they divide it amongst all the tribes. So let me ask my question that I've been asking all week. What does mercy have to do with conquest? Well, again, notice that it's to him which led, to him which smote. Israel didn't do the job of smiting Og and Sihon. God did. To him that gave their land for an heritage. So God is doing this work. He is taking it from these kings. He's giving it to His people, even in heritage to Israel, His servant. So all of this is identified as God's work, God's gift, and Israel is identified as His servant. So it all belongs to Him. So what does mercy have to do with conquest? This too is God's work, and it's mercy on behalf of the children of Israel. The Lord is the one who gives them the ability to do this. And Rahab, when she speaks with the spies, says, "We know your God, the Lord God, is God, because of all that He has done." So the testimony here that they have, because of what God has done, and remember, this is to the one who led His people, to the one who smote great kings, and gave and blessed. Mercy has everything to do with conquest. Join me again tomorrow. We're going to look at verses 23 through 26 here on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.